Hey there, welcome to Millennium.Milestone Presents, a site dedicated to storytelling in books, movies, video games, and other exciting genres, where I would like to take a nosedive off a building after watching the latest episode, Daredevil Born Again. In case you haven't noticed, my enjoyment of the series has kind of waned, so much that I skipped 1 week to do a double dose of both final 2 episodes and wrap up a rundown of the few highs and many lows this show has already had. But that hasn't stopped me from at least acknowledging that finally, just finally, we get some idea of what transpired in the first episode that this whole damn series ignored until now. Think of it like finally meeting the Wizard of Oz after journeying through this mildew-colored yellow brick road of a story that had barbed wire fences and low trenches forcing you to wait for answers that could have been addressed in the first few episodes. But here we are, episode 8, The Isle of Joy. Great title. Wow. Matt finds out that Heather is involved in Fisk's therapy sessions. Great job, which led into an argument about that and how she saved herself rather than Daredevil from Muse. She and Matt are given an invitation to the Black and White Ball benefiting the Red Hook Revitalization Project. Don't be late, Matt. You want to be there to save the damsel in distress, right? Meanwhile, couples counseling seems to really have paid off as much. Both Fisk reveals to Vanessa the truth that he had Adam locked away all this time, hidden away in one of the building properties he now owns. Vanessa's shock wears off quickly as, to no real surprise, she shoots Adam, reaffirming her commitment to Wilson. I just watched Mobland recently with Helen Mirren, mind you, playing a very similar role to that of Yinglet Zier, who's a really excellent actress in her own right, who's portrayed the same role. And the differences between these two are night and day on how the writers, who I blame, put together a mob wife. One is just there to berate the other character and get her way, while the other is manipulative but still serves the interests of everyone else involved, even when she seems unhinged and self-serving herself. Marvel could take a few lessons from Ronan Bennett and Jess Butterworth and their approach to female mobsters we love to hate. Speaking of other female characters needing a writer's tune-up, Foggy replacement, Kristen McDuffie, enters the next scene to inform Matt that Poindexter has moved to regular prison population and is requesting to speak with him. Fisk appoints Daniel Blake as the new deputy mayor, much to the surprise of Sheila Rivera. Not to the surprise of anybody else, really. After getting into a heated exchange with a potential client, Matt heads back to Josie's, which had been closed down for a year, after discussing with Karen, insert Cherry, as to why Fisk might move Poindexter to the general prison population. He realizes that Foggy was celebrating a major victory that night he was killed. There had to be clues as to what really happened. Poindexter being the only one that might have that information, Matt goes to the prison to see him and coerce him into identifying who ordered the hit on Foggy and why. Predictably, Bullseye offers that information to him in exchange for Matt to get him out of general population. At least affirming his suspicions, Matt decides to head to the mayor's ball despite his reservations about Fisk. At the ball, we get side character after side character after side character follows, like Bibi Ulrich, who has just been in the background adding nothing to the plot but her reservations about Daniel's new role as deputy mayor and where he might end up. Bibi slips away just to corral Chief of Police John Hickey about the task force and how much input he had in it. Jack Dugan's, another inserted meaningless character from Hawkeye, makes an appearance, all the while Heather, who I would like to say has not been written well into the series, comes off as someone there just to berate Matt and his shortcomings almost at every opportunity the writers can get. "I saved myself" was one of the cringiest, dumbest lines that anyone could have written for her character. As if Daredevil did none of the heavy lifting when fighting a deranged murderer named Muse. I have to ask, what has this character contributed to in this story so far? Nothing has happened to move the plot with her, and I gotta say, I'm not feeling any sympathy for her in the least bit. I'm almost hoping Bullseye makes an appearance. Is that foreshadowing, I smell? We'll get to that part very soon. Coming back to Bullseye in prison, he makes his epic escape, spitting a tooth shot right into the eye of another prison break and creates one of the most darkest escapes I've seen in a while. That's darkest of Souls cringe. The sequence was perhaps the only real highlight to this episode, and that is some needed tension and some stakes. Just as the moment ends, we're back in the ballroom. I wanted to be back here for this event and totally kill the tension and watch more women complaining under their breath. Did the writers forget that this was Daredevil, or did they think they were writing for Cinderella? The only thing to save the segment was that Matt finally shows up, but again, we got more Heather speak. Each time I heard her complain about Matt for the upteenth time, it was just another groan for me. Okay, we get it. Incompetent needs to be scolded. Let's move on, please, writers. The segment does move a bit with Matt listening in on Fisk and Jack's conversation where he attempts to blackmail him into the Red Hook project. Throughout the scene, we go back and forth between Fisk and his potential donors and Matt listening in on the conversation. The entire scene finally moves a bit to Fisk and Vanessa dancing in the ballroom, which leads to the twist. Oh no, what could that be? Guess poison at the gala? No, already did that. A bombing? Been there, done that. How about a short... Oh, never mind. Just get this over with, which leads to Matt taking a bullet for Fisk from Bullseye. Why? Major twist alert. Vanessa has been pulling all the strings this whole time. Can you feel the excitement? She ordered the hit on Foggy. Congrats, Rise. You really hit a home run with this idea. Still think you saved yourself, Heather? Now, I might be a bit delusional in thought here, but Bullseye is an expert marksman, bar none. Even if Matt took the bullet, wouldn't he just be able to do, I don't know, maybe this? And this? And maybe perhaps this? So where does this all lead to next? Boom, boom, boom. The perfect title for a dumpster fire of a season. I watched just exactly where this whole series should be dumped. In a dumpster. And it gets better. In the worst way possible. But first, let's do a flashback sequence. First, Vanessa goes to visit Bullseye before going off to attack everyone at Josie's bar on the night of Foggy's death. The plot twist no one saw coming. Except maybe this guy. Matt, still recovering from Bullseye's shot meant for Fisk, learns that Vanessa Fisk ordered Dex to kill Foggy Nelson. He tries to convince McDuffie to find Foggy's files, but declines to do so. Great help she's been all season. Fisk consolidates his control over New York, becoming the kingpin again and declaring martial law, throwing the rule of law out the window despite the urgent advice from extra character insert Sheila Rivera. He instead requests of her the names of all that are disloyal to him, likely to handle them accordingly. But Cashman reports that Matt is recovering and will be out soon from the hospital. Fisk sees this as an opportunity to eliminate his rival once and for all, and sends him back to eliminate him. Matt hears Buck's watch alerting him to his presence at the hospital and disappears before anything else could happen to him. He escapes back to his apartment, where he is greeted by an old kind of friend, Frank Castle, the one and only Punisher. The task force is dispatched to find and capture Matt with lethal force if necessary. Daredevil and the Punisher battle Fisk's anti-vigilante task force, led by Cold North, who was responsible for killing Hector Ayala. Frank taunts him to kill him, which he refuses. Before the two could come to blows about what should be done, Matt pulls him out of the window for safety, just in time to evade an explosion that takes his entire apartment out. By the way, just wondering, aren't there other people below or above the floor that Matt lives that might need saving? But before that could be even considered, another plot develops. Karen is back. Yay? I appreciate between the three of them something that was missing from the rest of the show this season. Next, Deputy Mayor Daniel and Buck begin compiling a concern list from the city council. Concerned about what? Well, let's just say you might want to hide your Swiss bank accounts that you've been using next time if you don't want someone like Fisk finding out about it later. Outside the city extra, NPC BB Ulrich goes out filming the chaos from the blackout used to hunt down Daredevil and the Punisher. Then we drop over to a storage unit where Karen and Matt search for clues as to what Foggy found out about Fisk's development deal. They find a copy of the charter for Red Hook in 1955 that makes the surrounding properties there outside jurisdictional law of both New York and the United States, making it a free port, giving to Fisk the opportunity to create his own city-state free from taxation and the law and to do whatever criminal activities he wants to participate in. Frank, after initially rejecting the idea of helping Matt any further, has a change of heart and decides to go after the task force officers, brandishing his Punisher logo in Red Hook by himself, and eventually is overpowered by them and taken captive. Fisk finds out that Hickey and Rivera are conspiring to remove Fisk from office if he does not pull back his martial law plans, and decides to put an end to the coup by having Hickey picked up and brought to him at Red Hook, where he kills him in Kingpin fashion, which once again proves how much of the therapy session was a pointless plot that led back to where we already knew Fisk would be eventually, being back as the Kingpin. Did we really need several episodes of that to get to this point? Frank wakes up, is tied down with the task force men, trying to coerce him into joining their militia. Now I have to call this out for just one moment and say that this is really a fine line to cross overall for a story. While some may find it okay to make certain police officers the bad guys in the story, I can't help but feel that this story is driven by the George Floyd riots and the Defund the Police campaign in the spring of 2020. This kind of egregious storytelling is something I am not a fan of, when trying to antagonize your audience with political statements. It was bad enough that they made Wilson Fisk a political figure similar to another real-life political figure, but now it's blended a lot of the same problems that has divided a lot of fans as a whole when it comes to Marvel and what they put out for stories these days. Going back to the scene, however, the officers try to convince Frank that they are on his side, but fail in their efforts and end up punishing him before locking him away in a dungeon that Fisk had used for Adam. The final stretch of the episode ends with Karen and Matt realizing that a direct attack on Fisk's task force on Red Hook territory makes it near impossible to take him down now with all the money from donors and the resources of the city on his side. So this calls for a brilliant plan. So what do you have for us, Matt? The Avengers reassembled? A team up with the Thunderbolts? Are the Defenders coming back? Oh, for God's sake. Now, in case you think I'm being harsh, let me level with you for just a moment. It took me several watches to even grasp both episodes and recall even the most minor details in the season and find memorable moments that had made me even feel remotely engaged. Honestly, I found none in this. None of these NPC characters added or let alone took away anything from the plot. They were just there. They were empty spaces of air taking up time that could have been spent developing the story of Daredevil Born Again from start to finish. The stakes are amped up, at least in the final 2 episodes, and I get that this is leading to an even bigger story from the Daredevil comics, but it's clear as day that this was a series that needed to be redone from start to finish, and instead of being a half-baked, reshot episodes and repurposed episodes that had no real connection to the overall plot. It was a mess. So for me, I have to grade this as being an awful series. I mean no disrespect to the actors like Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, or even Deborah Ann Wall. Her return was added some charm that was missing from the show, with connections that other lesser-known supporting cast members just didn't have. But going back to Charlie and Cox and D'Onofrio, they are amazing in their roles and make the scene work despite even having a very not strong script for the show. Please don't mistaken this for just being hate on Marvel in general. It really does dishearten me to give Daredevil Born Again a low grade, in my opinion. But this series has a simple formula that should not be tinkered with 3 cast members that have charm, wit, and bite to their personalities, a capable villain portrayed by a capable actor in his own right, with a co-star villainess that was downgraded to something unfamiliar from a previous run on the Netflix series. So this leaves Disney Plus in a tough spot, as their next series coming out is Ironheart, which had been delayed multiple times. Initially, it was planned for late 2023 release. By February 2023, it was the original thought for the series to be coming out. It was unlikely, and later it was shifted to 2024. But by September 2023, it was removed completely from the release schedule. and according to a copyright office suggesting it was going to be September 3rd, 2025. But now, here we are, finally getting to see the series and seeing what was going on. And now it's ready to be slated to be out June 2025. This also comes on the heels of a bad viewership numbers that are under the top 10 with no listing as to where it ranks overall. Again, these are not good signs of a good series everyone is dying to see. Well, these are my overall thoughts on the series of Daredevil. Numbers are not looking good for their viewership. The series was definitely half done, half baked, and didn't give what we wanted. And it's just not really looking good for Marvel right now as it stands. But what are your thoughts? Did you like the series overall? What did you think of it? Did it meet your expectation or was it a disappointment? Like, share, and subscribe, and you best better believe I'll be back.